gentleman Jim. But when Johnson fought that way, he was said to be showing the yellow streak which all African Americans were supposed to share.
With black boxers, every trait that was a positive trait, they tried to turn it into a negative trait.
Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? So I was really surprised when I started getting random people sending me messages saying that Fighthype just dissed Shakur Stevenson. So they sent me the link to the video. And basically, it's right after the post-fight press conference, David Benavidez, he's walking out, and Fighthype's reporter, Sean Zattel, he asks his question. While all the other reporters are asking David Benavidez about Canelo and other things that pertains to his future or just his fight with Demetrius Andrade, Fighthype Sean Zattel, he uses this opportunity to indirectly stereotype all black fighters as being reluctant, which is basically another way to try to say that black fighters, they don't have the heart and are basically showing the yellow streak. When black boxers hit and not get hit, he's saying it's because they're trying to preserve their health. But when David Benavidez is hitting and not being hit, he's a warrior that cares about entertaining the fans, which is exactly what old media has been saying about black boxers since the inception. No matter how aggressive they were, how many knockouts they got, they were always described as really being yellow. Now, I'm going to play this clip of what happened once again right after the David Benavidez-Andrade fight, the post-fight press conference, and you guys are going to see how this reporter, he was basically trying to get David Benavidez to say something bad about Shakur Stevenson. And the reason why we know they were trying their best to diss Shakur Stevenson is because Shakur Stevenson's name was never even mentioned in the entire video. But Fighthype went out of their way to put Shakur Stevenson's name in the title of the video. And even though they used Shakur Stevenson as the poster boy, they were really talking about black boxers in general, because Sean Zattel, he starts off the question saying, in an era of hit and not being hit. When he says an era, that means he's talking about all of the black fighters. The reason why we know he's talking about black fighters and not non-black fighters, because the reporter Sean Zito from Fighthype, what you guys are about to hear him say in this clip, this is not the first time he said it. He has said this in many interviews. And every time he said it, it was to a boxer that was not black. He's never said this to knockout artists like Gervonta Tank Davis. He's never said this to Crawford, who's knocked out every single welterweight he's been in the ring with and went toe-to-toe with the Mean Machine, getting caught with all kind of punches. What you guys are about to hear him say to David Benavidez, he has never said this to a black boxer. So I'm gonna play this clip for you guys, and then I'm gonna completely unpack everything that he said.
David, you know, in an era where a lot of fighters, it's about hit and don't get hit and preserving your health and things like that, why do you let, you know, you have good defense, but why do you let some of that go to the side and are so, you want to have a good fight, even if it means you take some bumps, you know, and all that?
Well, because at the end of the day, if everybody's just trying to use defense, this and that, just moving around the ring, there's going to be no fucking action. You know what I mean? I know I have confidence in my chin, I have confidence in my power. Sometimes you got to take those chances. If you don't take chances, then you're not going to have nights like this, you know what I mean? So I knew my chin is pretty good. I knew what I was up against, so we went in there and we got the job done.
So is it just as important to you to be an exciting fighter as it is a great fighter?
Yeah, definitely that, because at the end of the day, I don't want to, me as a fan, I don't want to spend my money and, see something I don't like to see. At the end of the day, these fights are expensive, to the regular person. So I want my people to feel comfortable buying my fight and be like, that shit was worth it.
Now, before I get much deeper into this, let me start by saying this. Once again, I was really surprised that they completely dissed Shakur Stevenson this way by, once again, nobody mentioned Shakur in this entire post-fight press conference, but Fighthype used this opportunity to compare David Benavidez's performance to Shakur Stevenson's performance, and then they went even further by, once again, putting Shakur Stevenson's name in the title, saying, "No action, Shakur Stevenson," when David Benavidez never brought up Shakur Stevenson's name, and he was never even talking about Shakur. He was asked this question. The question was designed to get David Benavidez to talk about Shakur Stevenson. And as loyal as Shakur Stevenson is to Fighthype, doing exclusive interviews with them, I would have expected Fighthype to be the last reporters to do something like this to Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur is already going through it, dealing with the worst backlash of his professional career after this performance. And right after the Shakur buzz starts to die down, Fighthype brings it back up in a fight that has nothing to do with him. Once again, all the other reporters are talking about David Benavidez versus Canelo or the Andre fight. Now let's once again talk about the covert message that Fighthype Sean Zito, he was trying to put out there in a form of a question to David Benavidez. Once again, he talks about in an era of hit and not be hit. The sport of boxing has always been hit and not be hit. I mean, what makes what this reporter says so ironic is the fact that David Benavidez showed a better defense than Demetrius Andre did. David blocked almost every single punch that Andre threw in the entire fight. Even when Andre threw those flurries and those combinations, David was blocking almost everything. He made sure he didn't get caught with anything. He showed the best defense in this fight. Mike Tyson had one of the best defenses in heavyweight history. Now, a fighter like Antonio Margarito or Diego Corrales, you could say those are the kind of fighters that throw caution to the wind and they care more about entertaining the fans because they have no defense. And even Antonio Margarito, he didn't get hit because he wanted to entertain the fans. He got hit because he didn't have the rhythm, the coordination, and the defense to avoid all of the incoming punches. This is the reason why Antonio Margarito, even when he was getting hit, you will notice he always had his guard up. He was always trying to block the punches. So you can't sit over here and say the guy who had the best defense of the night was really the warrior who didn't care about getting hit. He never got hit in the fight, at least not too often. Once again, not the way Antonio Margarito was getting hit. And also, styles make fights. When it comes to David Benavidez, he's the biggest, strongest puncher in the division. And he's fighting against boxers, so naturally he's going to be the aggressor. Whenever you're fighting against a boxer, you have to be the aggressor. You have to put yourself in harm's way to land any punches. And if you're bigger than your opponent and you're way stronger than him, then you're not putting yourself in as much danger as a Floyd Mayweather would be in when he's fighting against a Canelo Alvarez, who's way bigger than him, way stronger than him. When he talks about these quote-unquote boxers that are preserving their health, the great Julio Cesar Chavez, he quit on the stool. Mike Tyson quit on the stool. Roberto Duran, he quit in the middle of a fight. After Marco Antonio Barrera took his first loss, suffered his first loss, and got knocked out, he became a complete boxer. And that's the way he beat Naseem Hamed. And the ironic thing is, Barrera, he always talked about preserving his health and lasting long in the sport by not getting hit. This is what he always preached once he started to box in a ring. And boxing, hit and not being hit using foot movement, is how he got one of the biggest wins of his career, if not the biggest win, which once again was against Naseem Hamed. There's a reason why there are no boxers, no matter what their race is, that are fighting like Antonio Margarito or Julio Cesar Chavez today, meaning getting hit with 3 punches just so you can land 5 punches, because you will not go far in the sport. David Benavidez's hit and not be hit was one of the main reasons he won the fight. Of course, on top of his massive size and power. You can't say this is an era of hit and not be hit and then exclude David Benavidez from that list, especially when the reporter, Sean Zattel, he tells David Benavidez he has a good defense. As a reporter, you can't have it both ways. We have seen the toughest fighters in the sport of boxing quit on a stool or even quit during a fight because they were trying to preserve their health. And I would have expected, once again, Fighthype to give Shakur Stevenson the benefit of the doubt before they would diss him by looking at his other fights that were very entertaining. I mean, it's just so crazy because ESPN didn't even diss Shakur Stevenson the way Fighthype did. And we all know ESPN's track record. So while Fighthype Sean Zattel, he's using David Benavidez's name to step on Shakur Stevenson and compare him to all of the black boxers in general, it's just so crazy because David Benavidez, he said that his favorite fighter right now is Gervonta Tank Davis. And Fighthype's reporter, Sean Zattel, he had never said to Gervonta that he was throwing caution to the wind and he was just trying to entertain the fans. I mean, if anything, Sean should be saying these things about Demetrius Andre or maybe even Caleb Plant, because Andre and especially Caleb Plant, they got hit with way more hard punches straight to the face for rounds and rounds and rounds. When it comes to David Benavidez, we haven't really seen him getting hit with punches like that for 12 rounds against a hard puncher because his defense is so good, and he's never been in a position where he had to fight against a guy that was as strong as him or even naturally bigger than he is. Now, something else that's important to note, and I think David Benavidez would agree with me when it comes to this situation. If David moved all the way up, let's say he moved up to heavyweight or cruiserweight, he's fighting against guys that are way naturally bigger than he is, that are stronger than he is. You're going to see David Benavidez box more because he would be at a disadvantage when it comes to size and power. But he's at an advantage now when it comes to size and power. So once again, when you really think about it, it's the smaller guys that are in the ring with bigger, stronger guys getting punched in the face. Those are the guys that are really putting their health on the line the most. Because all those punches that Caleb Plant got hit with, he could have got killed in the ring that night. He could have ended up with a brain tumor. And yet Caleb Plant still wants to fight even after that big loss to David Benavidez. So even though Fighthype, they use Shakur Stevenson's name as the poster boy to try to stereotypically diss all black boxers, you can't use the one performance that Shakur Stevenson had and indirectly paint the entire race with that same brush. And when you talk about this era of hit and not being hit, and you talk about these boxers that just want to preserve their health, which fighters are you talking about? Name them. Because when you say an era, you're talking about the majority of them. So which fighters are you talking about? Terrence Crawford? Are you talking about Jaron Ennis Boots? Devin Haney? Deontay Wilder? Gervonta Tank Davis? Regis Prograis? Or are you talking about Lomachenko? Teofimo Lopez? Ryan Garcia? At the end of the day, we know what time it is. With that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.